Today, I want to give you my thoughts on the question, is it better to work for a large company or a small company? And as I do in most of my videos with these questions, I'm going to give you the answer right now. In my opinion, it is better to work for a large company. Now, let me explain. It is not to say that working for a small company is bad. I need you to take this in the context of the corporate world. So if you're working for a small company somewhere and you love it, then stay there. If you're happy, that's the most important thing. But in the context of the corporate world, if you're able to get into a large company, I think you're going to be a little bit more comfortable. I know I am. So this is based on almost 40 years of working experience, having had many, many different jobs, worked for small companies, medium-sized companies, and large companies. And when I balance it all out, by far, working for a large company, if I have to work for someone else, is better than working for a smaller company. So the ideal situation would be for you to start your own company or start your own gig and then work for yourself. Of course, that's a small company, but then you're in charge. So this really has a lot to do with your comfort level by working for someone else. And if that someone else is a large company, then there is more of a structure in place to support you. It's easier to get resources internally to help you do your job. And if with a small company, everyone wears a lot of hats, there are some things that are not in place because they can't afford to do that. You may find that they don't have a human resources department. You may find that they don't have much in the way of stationery even, and you have to supply your own stationery. So working for a larger company is something that I would recommend, particularly for people who are just coming out of college, getting into the corporate environment. You want to have that experience because you're going to be part of a community and you'll work with a lot of different people. You'll probably make friends who you'll carry on with for the rest of your career. That's not to say that that wouldn't happen with a smaller company, but most small companies are family-owned, privately held companies. And the fact of the matter is that if you're coming into a small company and you're not family, like blood family, then if the business goes bad or something happens with the business, you're often the first person to be laid off or let go. The other thing is that by the nature of being human beings, we're going to protect our own blood family. So they're going to make the most profits there and you're going to be hired help. I can say that because I've been in that situation where I've worked for small companies that were family owned. Maybe the father was the owner of the company and maybe my manager was his son or something like that. And it's a challenging situation because of the dynamics of the relationship there. Again, if you have the opportunity in your career to work for a small company that you're interested in and you feel you're happy there, then go for it. So the answer to this question is a bit vague. It's a bit challenging to answer, which is better, big company or small company. But I'm going to tell you that my sense, and after all I've been through, is that the larger companies are better overall for your experience in being able to move around internally, getting the answers and the resources you need. And, if you're not happy there, there are inlets and outlets that would help you to be more comfortable. So the other part of large companies is that they're not often owned by one single person, that they're public-facing companies, publicly owned companies, and they're owned by people who own the stock. So there's a lot of input into how people are treated, the direction of the company, whereas a small company, privately held, they don't have to answer to shareholders and they can basically do whatever they want. Now, depending on who owns that company, you may or may not be comfortable. As I've said, most of the privately owned small companies that I've worked for, I ended up leaving because I was unhappy there. There was no growth opportunity. The profits really weren't heading in my direction. I was hired help. So the difference with a larger company is you're going to have more mobility to move up through management, or get promotions that may result in larger pay for you and more experience. Also, many companies will offer stock to their employees if it's a public company, and that's going to work in your favor as well. So the bottom line is, if you have an opportunity to work for both, you really need to keep an eye on your happy meter, so to speak. You want to be happy where you are, and you will find that there are pros and cons for both small and large companies. Again, you want to be happy, find that you're making the kind of money you feel like you should be making. After all, you're trading your time and your services to get paid in dollars mostly, and you want to make sure that that's working in favor for you and your family. So it's difficult to give an answer to this question without being biased, but I will tell you that if you have an opportunity to work for a small company, having worked for a big company, you may find that kind of change to be too much on your system. Right? You'll be going from a world where you had many, many resources and a lot of flexibility to a place where, well, you may not have an office. You may not have the kind of chair you want. You may not have the kind of computer you want. So that's the difference where you're working in a large organization and a small organization. Resources, you've got a lot with a larger company. Then again, it can be a cold environment in a large company, depending on who your management is and your management team. But the ideal situation and the whole focus of this channel is to help you to understand, based on my over 40 years of experience in the corporate environment, that if you can start your own gig, start your own company, then you're going to be far better off. So that's the answer to the question. Should you work for a large company or a small company? In my opinion, you're going to be more comfortable and have more flexibility in a larger company. I know that small businesses are the engine and the lifeblood of many economies. I'm not knocking that. There are many small businesses that are not in the corporate world. So that's the distinction I want to make here, that when the question is asked, large company or small company, in context of the corporate environment, I think you're far better off to work for a larger company. Again, something you need to consider is that if you're working for a company that's smaller in the corporate environment, you need to really understand what the motivation of the people who started that company is. They may simply wanted to start that small company so that it can be purchased by a larger company. That means that you're working for a small business that would become acquired. And I know I haven't done a video on that yet, but I will do videos on companies that get acquired and companies that acquire other companies, and the dynamics and what happens to people there. But if you're working for a small company and that company is purchased by a larger company, the people who own the small business will make all the money. You will just be collateral. You will just be resources that is purchased and put into the larger company. And there may be layoffs. There may be something called redundancy in the larger company where you're doing something, but they already have someone who does that. So you could be laid off, and that could really tip your world into a tizzy. You may also find that you're not happy in a larger company that has acquired the smaller company. So in my opinion, it's best, if you can, to find your way within a larger company, a larger environment. And overall, I think with the 401k, the stock options, the resources that are available. Over the long term, if you stick with those things that's provided with a large company, you're probably going to be better off. Okay, I hope this has helped you a little bit think about some of the pros and cons of working for a large company versus a small company. It's time for me to thank my most awesome subscribers and my most awesome people who click on the like button. That helps me grow this channel. So thank you all so much. I truly appreciate your time. I appreciate you watching. The goal here is to help you with your career, so hopefully you got something out of this video. Take care of one another, take care of the world. I'm Joe from Vox Victoria. I'll see you in the next video. Leave a comment. I love to interact with you. All right, bye for now.